Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of F122, my team career mode here on the channel. I hope you're all having a great day. Today we head to Circuit de Paul Ricard here for the French GP, but we kick things off with an announcement here. Alfa Romeo has sold all of their assets at the end of the season to Audi, who is going to be joining the Formula 1 grid next season. You can see what it's going to look like right there. This is the mod on Race Department in a screenshot from Race Department, but this is the car you will be seeing on track. I'll put the credits down in the description for the mod. As well as a screenshot there, but Audi joins F1 next season. Alfa Romeo has sold everything to them for them to take over, and you look at Alfa Romeo right now, they're like the fourth best team on the R&D. Audi is going to have a very strong chance next season to be competitive. And speaking of performance, we have made some huge gains coming into this episode here in France. As you saw, a bunch of our upgrades were successful, so we come into this GP like the fifth or sixth best team at this point here on the grid. However, when we come to the French GP, I don't think you're going to see the true strengths of this car because this is a very straight line heavy circuit, and one of the places that this car is still lacking is in the straight line portion of the car. So we're definitely not going to be able to showcase everything that this car is capable of here today. But let me know what you think about everything starting off this episode here with Audi joining the Formula 1 grid next season. What you thought of that livery there. Very cool livery, very nicely done mod actually, and I have to get used to using modular mods now starting next season as well. And stay tuned for some news on our Trackhouse Racing team. Justin Marks is actively working at maybe even changing engine suppliers, bringing a brand new engine supplier into the sport, looking for title sponsors as well. So Trackhouse Racing, as we continue to get more and more competitive, we're generating more and more marketing value and interest here in this team. Next season could be a really big season, not only for Formula 1 in itself, but our team here with Trackhouse Racing, and I can guarantee you right now we are committed long term to driving for this Trackhouse Racing team, so we will be here next season as well. We don't know about Théo Pourchaire yet here. We'll have to wait and see, but Pourchaire needs to start stepping it up here now. He's been struggling with his performance. Trackhouse did extend his contract to remain in that seat for the rest of the season here with Porsche Trackhouse, and hopefully he can start to display better results now that our car is getting better. Like I said though, not necessarily expecting the most out of him or myself here today in France. So coming into qualifying now with that beautiful fish helmet, I absolutely love that. Like I said last episode, I know everyone hated that thing, but I think it is absolutely awesome here as we get ready for our qualifying attempt. And also, like I said already here in this episode, France being one of my worst tracks in racing. I don't know what it is. It's not a hard track. I just have never been able to get it down. Specifically, the last sector of this track. Sector 1, Sector 2, I'm really not bad through, but right here, this is where everything goes wrong. I struggle so hard through this set of corners right here, and I just can never seem to figure it out, and that's where I always lose all my time. However, here in Q1, we would actually be able to hold on pretty well, and we're going to come down this front straightaway, DRS open, and we're going to cross the line here momentarily, and it's going to put us P16. So we would head out for a second lap, obviously, because we're the last car in through to Q2, and we wouldn't go any quicker. We were about half a tenth slower, actually, by the time we came through to cross the line, but very, very thankful this would still actually allow us to hang on and get through into Q2. Unfortunately, Albon, Pourchaire, Magnussen, Piastri, Stroll, and Latifi all out here in Q1, but actually Pourchaire there in P18 is one of his better qualifying efforts, and he didn't miss Q2 by much. So we come through into Q2, and I wasn't really anticipating much. Like we said, this track, although our car is way up the R&D chart now compared to what it used to be, this is still a track that is a very large weakness to Trackhouse Racing. Tracks like France, Azerbaijan, maybe Spa as well, big weak tracks for us here, so I wasn't anticipating much of a great race here, but clearly there's more pace still in this car than there's ever been, because even on a track where we have a big weakness, we are making it into Q2. So it was a relatively sloppy Sector 3 like I expected here, and we come through out of that final turn down the front straightaway. I was expecting to be P16 here on the grid, down the front straightaway, rear wing wide open, and sure enough, it's going to be P16. I didn't bother setting the second lap. I just kind of accepted it and moved on here towards the Grand Prix. You can see we were half a second behind Daniel Ricciardo. I can tell you there was more time in the car, but I don't know if there was half a second left in the car. Nonetheless, let's head to the grid here for the French Grand Prix.
Here we are again then at Le Castellet for another round of this year's Formula 1 World Championship. Renault took their first French Grand Prix win all the way back in the inaugural race in 1906, but it was another 73 years before they could take their second. I'm sure Alpine will be pushing hard to delight the local fans here today. A lap of Paul Ricard then consists of 15 corners and a total length of around 3.6 miles. Drivers will need to position their cars carefully on the exit of the flat-out turn 10, ready for the double apex right-hander at 11. Watch out for potential overtaking action at the end of the start-finish straight and into the heavy braking zone of turn 8. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. What a qualifying yesterday for George Russell. He'll start today's race from pole position. And Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Leclerc, Sergio Perez and Bottas, Norris, Sainz, Gasly and Sebastian Vettel, Tsunoda, Zhou, Mick Schumacher and Ricciardo, Golden Boy, Albon, Théo Pourchaire and Kevin Magnussen, Ocon, Oscar Piastri, Stroll and Nicholas Latifi. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. Natalie Pinkham joins me once again in the commentary box. It's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm curious though, how do you think the drivers stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
We're ready to go. Lights out here in Paul Ricard now. P15 on the grid. You did see a grid penalty handed out there. It's a Mercedes front row lockout with Lewis Hamilton as well as George Russell. Hamilton won in Austria recently. Can he go back-to-back here in France? Now, he went back-to-back at the very end of last season there at Brazil as well as Abu Dhabi. And then he's got one win coming into last episode. That was at Imola. Then he won Austria. Now looking for win number 3 and, like I said, back-to-back for the second time. Here's we're ready to go green. It's going to be 5 red lights, and it will be lights out, and we are underway as Lewis Hamilton, George Russell up front here now as we head down towards turn 1. It's a great start for second place of Hamilton. Now he's already ahead of Russell down into the corner, but Russell's not going to back out of that one. They're going to be side by side into turn 2, but Hamilton comes out with the lead. What a start there from the British driver on his British teammate now as you see Charles Leclerc as well as Max Verstappen, Bottas and Perez just behind, and Leclerc is now attacking the Mercedes of Russell as well, who's had a terrible start. He's gone from pole position down to 3rd place already. Bottas side by side there gets ahead of Verstappen there in the Porsche Red Bull. So Red Bull not with a great start here either, because you can see Vettel is a little ways back as well now, as you can see the McLarens of Norris and Sainz there hanging on, and look at Sebastian Vettel. He's down in the bottom part of the top 10 currently, so not good for him at all. Ocon as well with that grid penalty there, currently in the second to last position now as he is just in front of the Williams, and look at the side-by-side battle he has to deal with here just in front of him. I myself actually got a pretty decent start here in this French Grand Prix, so you know I was pretty happy with that here. P17, we did lose 2 spots, but it could have been a lot worse. Unfortunately though, one of the positions I lost was to my teammate of Théo Pourchaire, so he would actually get past me. He would get to about 14th place here in the first and opening lap, so a great start actually for Pourchaire. Lando Norris was into the pit lane at the conclusion of lap 1 though. He actually had to come in and replace his front wings, so he is going to need some help here with a safety car to get himself back into the mix from the looks of it now. But we've been getting a good chunk of safety cars throughout this season here, especially in the last episode with Austria, where we saw the safety car madness, disqualify cars, crash out some cars, including Lando Norris actually, who was leading the GP in the rain, and then he crashed into the back of an Aston Martin in the safety car condition. It was an absolutely embarrassing moment for the British driver of Norris here. But you can see myself here, lap 5, you know, once again, the usual, struggling here in France. My teammate at Pourchaire outpacing me clearly, and I'm doing everything I can to run down Alex Albon as well as Zhou Guanyu, and as the laps go on, it would start to happen. I would start to get closer. I started slowly kind of understanding and learning more about this circuit here finally, and as we came through to a lap later, lap 7, Zhou Guanyu makes a mistake right there, opens the door for Albon and opens the door for myself as well. Albon takes the position from Zhou. I'm going to go along the left side as well. Albon leaves the door open there. Not a lot of track to work with, but we do make it work. 3 wide here briefly into the right-hander, and we get past both of them. We pass Albon as well as Zhou, as now actually Albon's going to send one up my inside. Goodness gracious, what kind of move was that there from Albon? And here comes Zhou Guanyu as well to take the position back from me. So now they continue side by side again. Absolutely mad racing right here in this French GP for 14th, 15th, and 16th. Magnus and Piastri there just behind. Piastri struggling as usual, and the Haas now watching on here as they continue side by side into the final corner. We're going to have a good opportunity right here with the DRS. Now, as you can see, Albon with the short end of the stick. I'm able to pass him, and now you can see Zhou with no DRS, myself with the rear wing wide open. We're going to sweep to the right hand side. We pass him, and finally we can kind of stay put right here in P14 behind our teammate of Théo Pourchaire, who's 4.8 seconds up the road at this point. Some work needed to be done here if we want to run down Théo Pourchaire, who would now go up to 5.9 or 6.9 seconds. It was looking a little bit rough here for myself in these moments now as we were closing in on our first pit stop. And Lewis Hamilton would kick off the pit cycle here, lap 12. The leader puts on the hard compound tire. He actually had to wait for both Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen to head into their pit boxes before he could exit. And this one is a bit of a common trend here. Leclerc has to wait on Verstappen as well as Carlos Sainz in the McLaren. So by the time everything would cycle out between these drivers, though, it was Bottas up at a second. Look at this, Leclerc, Verstappen, Russell now is the order there, as I was just coming in as well to make my first and hopefully only pit stop of the day, going from that medium to hard compound tire with an absolutely beautiful camera angle right there with nothing at all blocking the car, as we would get out in front of the Williams of Alex Albon there and try to hustle this car on these cold hard compound tires now as we head down into turn 1. So hoping that we can cycle out in the same position there. About P14 would be the goal by the end of this pit cycle, and as long as we make no errors, we should be fine here as we come through to the next lap. And you can see Zhou Guanyu exiting the pit lane there, and we're going to be able to get out in front of him. He's on those cold tires as well, so I'm able to breeze past him there in the braking zone. So up to P16 briefly, but we still got a couple cars that we're waiting on pitting there, as we were up now to P15 behind our teammate of Pourchaire, who will be running 13th when the pit cycle is complete, and it would be eventually as we come through to lap 18 to run through the grid, as Hamilton has a 2.2 second lead over the Ferrari of Bottas, Verstappen, Leclerc 3rd and 4th. Leclerc is still struggling this season now, as Russell in 5th, and Perez actually having a once again back to form 6th place run here in the Alpine, as Vettel as his continuous struggles with this Red Bull Porsche team continue here today. Now, as you can see, Sainz and Gasly and Schumacher running currently in the points in the Haas. Now, Tsunoda, Ricardo, Pourchaire there through 11th and 13th, with myself and Albon there running 14th and 15th. I had now stabilized a nice gap where Albon was no longer in the DRS range, so I could focus on getting away from him. Esteban Ocon was actually in the pit lane because of that right there. He had some contact with Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin, so he had to come in and replace that front wing here momentarily after big contact there, as Norris continues to struggle. And so far, what is a kind of a boring race here in this French GP. The moment right there of Ocon getting wing damage is, I think, the most interesting thing that's actually happened so far. So we continue in this 14th position, just, finishing out this race. And I was trying to run down Pourchaire, and I was running down Pourchaire. We were 3.9 seconds behind him, and I had finally figured out Sector 3 for the most part here, especially this corner, just getting the power down as quick as possible. And it just, the traction, there was a lot more traction in that corner than I anticipated. And once I kind of realized that, I was able to take advantage of it, and we were able to at least stay relatively even with Théo in our Trackhouse, teammate cars. So you can see the battles are happening behind us. Albon now 4 seconds back. So we are basically in an island of our own here now on lap 25. You can see yellow flags actually on the back straight away. It's Lando Norris, who's had a mechanical failure. So he's gone from wing damage on lap 1 to a miserable day all on his lonesome to his now engine failing. So he would be out of this race, and that was the only DNF here now as we were closing in on the final lap of the French GP now. And I had actually backed my pace way down here because I knew I wasn't going to be able to run down Pourchaire. So I just kind of said, all right, let's just bring it home at this point here. But Lewis Hamilton, what a day for him. He took the the lead on the start against his teammate of George Russell, and now here he comes through to win the French GP over Valtteri Bottas as well as Max Verstappen. As you can see, Leclerc, Perez, Russell, who started pole down to 6th, and Vettel there in 7th places. His struggles, like we mentioned earlier, continue with the Porsche Red Bull team down the front straightaway for the final time. It is going to be a 14th place finish for us. I will take that here. A day of weakness here for this Trackhouse car with a lot of straight line speed being key, and we still finish P13, P14. Absolutely fantastic for this Trackhouse Racing team. Driver of the day, Esteban Ocon. Let's head to the podium for the celebrations.
Yet another historic win under their belts. Well done to the whole team at Mercedes. So Natalie, what do you think helped them deliver this result?
I think that smart tyre management on track and very smooth driving definitely assisted in their victory today. That combination meant they got the absolute maximum out of their tyres at all times.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it.
Back-to-back Grand Prix victories for Lewis Hamilton as he tries to continue his push for his 8th world title, and he would have to dethrone Max Verstappen from the championship lead. Could we be in for another Verstappen versus Hamilton, and hopefully we don't see the, manipulation of the 2021 title finale at Abu Dhabi if that happens again here now. But it will be absolutely awesome to watch these two, even as AI go at it for a world title. But don't count out Charles Leclerc, but he's off the podium today, as you see his teammate there, Bottas, celebrating. Instead, Leclerc there just short of a podium in the 4th position now, as we will get a quick points update to see what is going on there. As you can see, Ocon in P21 got driver of the day, by the way. How does that happen? I don't know. But you can see right there Verstappen with a 38-point lead on Hamilton now, as he continues to eat in at that Red Bull Porsche Drivers Championship lead, the 2021 Formula 1 World Drivers Champion. And you look at the constructors as well. Red Bull 29 points ahead of Ferrari and only 31 ahead of Mercedes. A 3-horse fight here now. But that is going to wrap it up for us here today in the French Grand Prix weekend. A track where, like I said, it was a big weakness to us, and we did well. I think Hungary in the next episode before the summer break could be a really big opportunity for us to put up a really good performance, considering where our car now stacks up here in the R&D. So let's hope for a good one there. If you guys enjoyed, you know what to do. I will see you guys all in the next one. Have a great day, everybody.